Let's start.
Hello, I'm David Contreras, and I'm doing the audience book. Uh, so the aurora boreals is presented much in many movies like Brother Bear, or it's also called the Northern Lights. The Northern Lights are symbolic in that it gave the natives the beliefs of their gods and their mythologies. Scientific wise, is when electrons from solar wind reacting with elements in the Earth's atmosphere is how they actually form. People continuing to visit in order to see the Northern Lights do its thing, and many times go there for vacation. The aurora lights or Northern Lights, despite being bursts of energy from the sun and reacting with the atmosphere's electrons, may cause pros and cons. Its beauty still baffles many and is a high tourism site.
I'm Melanie between the history of the aurora. So French astronomer Pierre Gassendi was born in January 22, 1592, and died on October 24, 1655. He was credited for naming the Northern Lights. He said the Roman goddess of dawn, Aurora, was his inspiration for naming it Aurora, and the Greek name for the north wind is Boreas. The Northern Lights have been observed by ancient Chinese and ancient Greek peoples. The oldest aurora sighting was written in 26,000 BC in China. It is said that Eskimo and Scandinavian peoples have a long oral tradition of seeing the Northern Lights that go as far back to 700 AD. And for those who don't know what Scandinavian people are, it's people from countries like Norway, Denmark, Iceland, Finland, and Sweden. In 1719, the first recorded sighting of an aurora was recorded. It wasn't, although it was the first, it wasn't the first sighting. New England denizens claimed they had first seen the Northern Lights in March 1718, a year before the first recorded sighting. The people of England feared it was a sign of urgent conflict to come, which is ironic to think because many people find happiness when they see the lights. Another credited scientist is Henry Cavendish. He made quantable observations of the aurora lights in 1790, a couple of years after this phenomenon was discovered. He used a technique known as triangulation to estimate that the aurora lights are produced around 100 to 130 kilometers in altitude, which is about 60 miles above the Earth's surface. In 1902 to 1903, Christian Birkeland, a Norwegian physicist, concluded from his Terrella experiment that the aurora lights were caused by currents flowing through the gas of the upper atmosphere. This is exactly how modern-day neon lights work. These cave paintings have been the earliest depictions of auroras in 30,000 BC. The earliest drawings of the auroras are depicted as candles in the sky because people thought that the auroras looked like candles floating. Greek and Roman mythology are very popular regarding northern lights. Greek mythology regarding the magnetic control of the aurora was mentioned by ancient Greek explorer slash geographer Pytheas, Herodotus, and Celsius, described in 1741 as evidence that the large magnetic fluctuations occurred.
Hello, I am Andre Brantoro, and my part is the explanation of the aurora boreals, or the explanation. So the way they are formed is the color of the aurora, extraterrestrial aurora, social cultural aspect, is first the sun penetrates the Earth's atmosphere. The sun sends out shock waves of energy to the Earth's atmospheres, and those electrons meet with either oxygen or nitrogen atoms in the atmosphere, This creates a photon. A lot of photons will create an aura depending on the photons which the sun's electrons meet. And with the altitude of where they meet, a different color aura will be made. Aurora have been seen with a lot of planets in our system, in our solar systems. Conditions to see these beautiful northern lights would be clear skies, clear dark skies, and a lot of solar activity from the sun. And to continue our explanation, Earth's magnetic field guides the electrons such as that the aura forms two ovals approximately centered at the magnetic poles. During major geomagnetic storms, these ovals expand away from the poles such that the auras can be seen over most of the United States, mainly the northern side, like Connecticut or upside of Canada. Auras come in several different shapes. Often the form forms are made of many tall rays that look much like a curtain made out of folds of cloth. Auras have been seen in a lot of our solar systems. It is possible for any planet with an atmosphere which is dense enough like our planet and has electrons enough to penetrate the atmosphere to have an aura. And these auras, they create, and these auras, they create, um, they create the luminous lights in the skies. And depending on the altitude of the sky, it depends on the color of the aura that you receive. Well, so like in the South Pole, which is typically the altitude would be much lower than the Northern Lights, or the Northern Lights in East Russia, comparing to the Northern Lights that's near Canada. The colors will vary because of different altitudes, and those that is how the auras are formed and how they are used.
Relevancy to the world. Centuries ago, human settlements were far less determined, and we lived in far smaller and isolated societies with barely any communication with other tribes. As a result, North American tribes evolved their own myths surrounding the Northern Lights. Here are just a few of the many varied beliefs held by ancestors in North America. A tribe by the name of Cree. The Cree thought three things. The Cree thought the lights were part of life's circle. They also thought it was the spirits of the dead who remained in the sky apart from their loved ones. The Cree also believed that the lights were spirits of the departed friends and relatives trying to communicate with those they had left behind on Earth. It's rare for northern lights to appear over southern Europe, and such appearances require intense solar activity, which usually results in red lights appearing in the night sky. The poor residents of France and Italy believed that the lights were a bad omen to be a sign of the outbreak of anything from war to plague or even death. Aurora is believed to come from the Greek word aurora, meaning sunrise, and boreas, meaning wind, for the ancient Greece to have seen the lights. There have must have been some incredibly strong solar activity because sightings so far are almost unheard of. The Greeks held that there was a sister of Helios and Selene, the sun and the moon respectively, and that she raced across the early morning in her multicolored chariot to alert her siblings to the drawing of a new day. There's also associated with the Northern Lights with the new day, believing in to be the goddess of dawn. IRL sightings in China are also rare. The ancient Chinese were in awe of the lights that occasionally illuminated the night sky. It is said that many of the early Chinese legends associated with dragons were a result of the northern lights. The belief is that the lights were viewed as spiritual battle between good and evil dragons who breathe fire across the sky. In Japanese culture, the belief is that a child conceived underneath the northern lights will be blessed with good looks, intelligence, and good fortune. Indeed, there's a fascination with the lights in Southeast Asia, and there is no it is no accident that visitor numbers from like Japan, Singapore, in Malaysia have increased significantly in recent times.